Hi, I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Welcome to the news and why it matters. We have a special guest today, Elijah Schaefer, who is the host of the YouTube show Slightly Offensive. Yay! Thanks for joining us. All right, Stu, top story up. You get applause.
Wow, look at
that. You get applause. Not everyone gets applause.
Like came from heaven right there.
It did. Stu, what was your top story?
The American hero that is Cory Booker.
Thank you so much for saying that.
He deserves the attention, and he wants it.
Yeah, does he?
Yes, very much
Jason.
so.
The American hero that is Alex Jones.
Also, super deserving of that title.
Very patriotic show today.
Yes. All right, Elijah.
Yeah, and mine is the Italian hero, the Pope, and the Catholic Church, and the new investigations that were launched from the New York and New Jersey Attorney Generals into sex abuse allegations, which is not so funny.
It wasn't as funny. You really ruined the vibe.
I'm like the guy who comes into like the Thanksgiving dinner and is like, let's talk about sex abuse. Like,
Not funny, but really important.
Really important.
So, I mean, this is the news and why it matters. So that is a very important story that we will get into. Cory Booker.
Yes, Cory Booker, he had a moment, his I am Spartacus moment, when he was talking about these documents that came out. We talked about this, I think, a little bit on yesterday's show, where he said he was breaking the rules of this committee to get these documents out there. He's a maverick, he's rogue, he's a bad boy, he's doing all these things against the rules. And then, of course, it comes out that these documents had already been approved to be released, and he was doing absolutely nothing that was against the rules. He's trying to make himself into a big deal. We have the clip of the I am Spartacus moment. Let's watch it.
And I understand that the penalty comes with potential ousting from the Senate. And if Senator Cornyn believes that I violated Senate rules, I openly invite and accept the consequences of my team releasing that email right now. And I'm releasing it to expose that, number one, the emails that are being withheld from the public have nothing to do with national security. Now, I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment. My colleagues, numerous of them, said that they too accept the responsibility.
Now, I will agree with him on one point. This is the closest he will ever come to an I am Spartacus moment.
That is true.
That is 100% true. I agree with him. But it's I am Spartacus moment is in, of course, we know the story, at least if you don't generally know it, there's a bunch of slaves there, they're about to get murdered if they don't out this one guy Spartacus. And when the Spartacus says, I want to protect these people, I'm going to have to admit I am who I am. He stands up. He's about to say I am Spartacus. And then two other people say I am Spartacus. And then the whole crew, everybody there starts saying I am Spartacus, of course, to confuse it was the Romans, right, that were going to kill him. The issue with that is what's amazing about it in that comparison is that it's all about anonymity. Right? They all say, I am Spartacus, to hide the identity of the person doing something principled. Cory Booker is doing the exact opposite. He's telling you he's the person who's principled. He's telling you he's the guy. He's the important one. This issue is all about getting eyeballs on Cory Booker, not about doing anything principled. And that's what's really, sad here. There's been this kind of thing with Kavanaugh where the left has said, why aren't you doing something to stop him? Now, of course, you could have done something to stop him, which is elect more Democratic senators. Like that would have been a way to stop him. But they didn't do that. So, Kavanaugh has a really good chance of going through and getting confirmed. But they have to now do these sort of symbolic things as advertisements for their 2020 campaign.
Yes.
What you're watching there is not about Kavanaugh, it's about 2020 and these guys trying to show how wonderful and how they'll even break the rules to push back against Trump. What's amazing about this is this precedent, think about how they view Donald Trump, right? He's this evil fascist and he'll do anything he wants all the time. Can you imagine what this precedent would mean for the Trump administration if he were to also execute it, where he would start breaking rules and doing all these things and bragging about it? There'd be nonstop coverage about how horrible he was and all the norms he was breaking and all the evil things he was doing. With here, it's just a campaign commercial. They want to get their little clip. They want to get their thing they could send out in a donor email later on and hopefully separate themselves from Joe Biden or whoever else is running. It is really pathetic. It's all about attention. It's one of those things that it's so transparent with Cory Booker because he's so bad at it. He's so incredibly terrible at this. He's a grandstander who is just awful at grandstanding. And you just, every day you watch him, you realize a little bit more he has absolutely no chance of being the nominee.
He's also got those crazy eyes going.
He does have crazy eyes. What's
really
the crazy
creepy.
eyes thing?
It's really creepy. Elijah, what's your take?
You know what? Honestly, I would say that this is a common threat on the left, that they're consistently trying to virtue signal and look like they're somehow taking a moral stance. Even like an article I was reading today with Elizabeth Warren saying that she's part of this resistance, and they like to tag these names. You know, I'm Spartacus, I'm the resistance. But what you really are is just faltering American society, and you're sort of dragging people down, distracting them away from the real issues. And by him coming out and saying this, I mean, it's an ego, it's a pride thing. And I know as anybody who's in politics, they probably want to be known for something, but at this point he's just going to be known for idiocy, because all what he's really doing is not only saying that I don't know what's actually going on, but he's trying to take credit for something that, quite frankly, he doesn't have any credit for, which sounds a lot like pretty much everyone today, Colin Kaepernick, different kind of things, right? I mean, different things in the news, but I mean, this guy's saying it, and he says it with such a convincing tone that you even wonder, does he believe it, or is he just
It's a convincing tone.
Yeah.
But not everyone else
But he
is convinced.
speaks. But the whole point is he's saying it as if it's real.
Absolutely.
But it's scripted. I mean, you know that they're feeding this to him,
Yeah.
and he's trying to come across this way, like, yes, I'm convincing, I know what I'm saying, but you would basically have to be an idiot to watch this and not see that this guy, you can smell the BS through his teeth.
Yeah.
Even his explanation sounded very, very convincing, but I still just didn't understand it because it was Anderson Cooper, I think, kept pushing him. Was like, wait a minute, so did you know about this or not? Because people are saying you knew that these documents were already set to be released and were cleared, and he was like, no, I did it. You know, I released it before.
I broke the
did 'em
rules.
last night. I did 'em last
I'm a
night.
rule breaker.
Yeah, I'm a bad boy.
I'm a rebel.
How he frames himself as a bad boy is going to crack me up. If he keeps that standard, he's next. I mean, that's on the level of like tearing off your mattress, tag or whatever, and going, boom, told you, breaking the law, or jaywalking or something like that. But he didn't do anything that he wasn't supposed to here.
Just for amusement purposes, we have that Anderson Cooper clip. Let's play a little bit of that.
But I guess the question is, was it really a violation? Because at this point, I mean, to be clear, Bill Burke, the President Bush's presidential record representative, said he cleared the documents before 4 a.m. per your staff's request, and that they had told you could use them publicly. Grassley's office also confirmed you were told that the restrictions on the documents had been waived before you spoke today. So how do you square that with the idea that, with what you've said?
Well, I square that very easily. Number one, last night I broke the rules before then they scrambled to release the document, but I continue to release documents. I've released 20 so far that they have not cleared. I am breaking the rules.
I'm breaking the rules.
Keep saying that.
Breaking the rules. I want whatever coffee he's having, though.
I know.
I mean, that's pretty. I woke him up.
And even it's really Jonah Goldberg wrote a really good article today, and he said it's theater of the absurd. It really is, and he went on to describe how, I guess back in the 50s and 60s when they were talking about theater, like they had to go do something different because I guess it was stagnant. And before, theater was like very, I guess, linear, like you had your different acts or whatever, everything built to a conclusion. But when it became theater of the absurd, it was more like the actors were less like acting real frantic and they were like pumping into overdrive, but at the end, nothing changed with the characters or with the story. So it's very similar to this. Like they're really going crazy, like saying they're rule breakers and, they're doing all these things, for the American people. But at the end of the day, what's going to change after all of this like circus? Nothing.
Yeah.
Kavanaugh is going to get confirmed regardless, and they know this.
Most likely, yeah.
But it does not matter because it's theater for a run for the next election. Is the only thing it is.
Speaking of theater of the absurd, Alex Jones.
Good transition, Sarah Gonzalez. This is I hate. I guess I'm torn on this because I'm going to miss him so much. I mean, it's provided so many hours of of entertainment, but he really is getting deplatformed. It started off with Facebook, YouTube, all of his different, podcast, platforms, all that stuff, even Pinterest. Twitter was the only holdout.
Alex Jones had a Pinterest page.
He's still on Instagram right now.
He's still on Instagram.
Still on Instagram. It's
Which is
logo,
weird.
only like 200,000 followers.
Because that's owned by Facebook, right?
Correct.
Yes.
So that's kind of strange.
That is interesting.
He's not that big on there. That's probably why.
It's also like they're saying a specific violation on the platform, so maybe he's never really done much of anything on that platform that's violated.
Which would make them more credible
theoretically.
You're right. I mean, you would think.
That's actually big for him if he can stay on, because they just announced with that like hour-long streaming service that they're doing now
on Instagram.
So we can do like an entire hour-long show on Instagram. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, if Twitter is your last holdout, if that's the guy that's like saying I will not censor voices regardless. You would think that you would be nice to Twitter. You'd be nice to Jack Dorsey, but that's not exactly happened. This happened on Wednesday.
I'm a public figure too. Hey Jack, I appreciate you supporting the First Amendment, but I have a right to face my accusers, Jack. And I never threatened the media with battle rifles.
Jack, can I have your autograph, sir?
So, hey, Jack. CNN, fine. CNN.
You unverified me and called me a white supremacist. I'm
destroying
Jewish.
free speech.
You're violating my First Amendment rights.
CNN and the Democrats, are destroying the First Amendment. It needs to be stood up against.
Okay, he's your only ally. Why are you chasing him down and shouting at him? It makes no sense. So, I really don't think that was the last straw. I really don't. I think it was after that with the Oliver Darcy thing that was the last straw. I mean, you could have saw. Do we have that as well?
We have a couple different.
Show that really quick because you can actually see.
You're the definition of a fraud. You are a charlatan that goes around lying about people to destroy the First Amendment.
I haven't lied about anyone, Alex.
Yes, you are a congenital liar. And CNN is a giant fraud and hated the world over.
None of what you're saying is true.
No, yes it is. You are a liar. You think you can gaslight people and call for censorship and then a day later say you aren't?
Before we get into that, we have to play my favorite clip from that Oliver Darcy confrontation. Can we?
I want to get this guy on tape. This is unbelievable. I was literally saying I don't see the criminal news network here, but indeed we do. Right there at the front of the line of the trough, to try to get in there and try to shut down conservative libertarian speech. And of course, he comes from the loins of Glenn Beck. The king. I mean, look at those eyes, folks. If you want to see the eyes of a rat.
Of course he comes from the loins of Glenn Beck.
That's where they all come from.
Right?
Understanding.
Glenn's
my God.
loins.
That's an amazing set of moments there.
I'm surprised at how Oliver kept his cool.
I thought he did a great job. What are you going to do? You just stand there and just
tired. You're like, you're just trying to go to a hearing, and Alex Jones walks up. It kind of reminds me of Bernie Sanders when he's at the airport.
Yeah.
And then the guy was like, Alex, please don't do this. Like, you're just trying to get off a plane or whatever. You're just no one wants to be in D.C. Who even wants to really be there, to be honest, at one of these hearings? You're going because you need to be, or it's your job. Yeah. And then Alex Jones is yelling in your face, and I don't know what his breath smells like. I don't know what it is.
It can't be good. We know it's not good. It's not. It's not minty fresh. I will say that. I can go on the record on that.
All those supplements he's taken.
One interesting thing you think bring up, Jason, and it plays into a theory that I have about all of this is, he's never going to like Jack Dorsey from Twitter, right? Like he's always going to complain about everybody. He in his own mind is the ultimate martyr, right? Like that's how he sees himself. But if his goal was to stay in front of as many people as possible on social networks, he would probably do what he could to say, look, Twitter, I mean, you can complain about Twitter a lot, and there's a lot to say that, I don't like every move that they've made, but they were the only, one of these platforms that stood up at that time when everybody was dropping him and said, you know what, look, we don't see any specific violations, we're nervous about it, we might suspend him if he does something. They stuck with him, and I don't think there are any heroes of free speech in this situation, but if your goal was to stay on and get your message out to the most amount of people, you're right. You probably don't go up and yell at the CEO of the company. I think his goal is something different. His goal is to become a martyr. Yes. His goal is he wants to get kicked off of these things, I think, in the end. And in the end, in the short term, he will pocket a bunch of cash for doing it. He'll get this publicity. His followers will go. They'll sign up when maybe before they just watched his clips on Twitter. He'll make some cash out of this in the short term. But I think really his goal is to become this sort of figure that's been wronged and to kind of prove himself right to his audience, because he's been saying everyone's after him all the time, and now they are after him, and he's proving it right. I feel like the goals aren't to stay on these platforms, because you can certainly make moves as a businessman to try to do that if that's your goal.
Yeah.
My meta issue with this is, do I have time to do this now? Or?
You know what?
You don't have time for a meta issue.
No, we don't. But there's still. Let's come back to this after we take a break. But before we go, I want to thank our TV and podcast sponsor, Mercury Real Estate. Stu, would you agree that the best way to pick a realtor is you open the phone book to a random page and you close your eyes and you point?
That's one of the best. My preferred way is to look for a bench bus, a bus
stop.
Yes.
Yeah,
if you can find a bus stop,
giant picture that you sit on.
Yeah, a lot of times, and if you have a homeless person sleeping on your face on a bench, then I'm like, oh, that person's got to be my age. That's how
you read my mind.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there are so many people who say that they're a realtor. They do it on the side, they dabble in it maybe, but Glenn built realestateagentsitrust.com for that very reason, because because you don't know who you can trust. So Glenn's team goes in and handpicks everyone based on their ability, their track record. So you don't have to do it.
Considering the importance of the transaction, right? Like probably the person you know kind of from the gym is not the right person. Like you should do more research than that.
For the biggest investment you're probably ever going to make
in your life, you probably want to have somebody who's checked out. And they make it really easy at realestateagentsitrust.com. Find someone right in your area and just knock that one out.
Yeah, so go to realestateagentsitrust.com. Back in a minute. We got a lot to get into. We're still going to talk about Alex Jones, but before we do that, want to thank another TV and podcast sponsor, Patriot Mobile. Stu, you use Patriot Mobile?
I do.
Okay.
It's interesting because you think about all the times now, all these companies run away. Dick's Sporting Goods is getting rid of guns, and all these companies are, getting boycotted and everything. And in that environment, Patriot Mobile actually started with the goal to support conservative organizations, like, for example, Gun Owners of America. Real conservative organizations that you actually get to choose. The way they do it is basically, you pay your bill every month, and they take a portion of that bill and they give it to conservative causes. No extra cost. You don't have to worry about losing quality in the network or whatever. They have a great network. Great prices.
A lot of the other phone companies, though, are donating to liberal causes. We just don't know it.
Yeah, well, this is typical, right? These companies they want feel-good publicity, so they donate money to these left-wing causes. One company in particular, I can't remember which one it was over $80 million they've given to progressive causes and candidates. And it's so you're paying your bill thinking, hey, I'm just paying some phone company, and you're actually donating to some terrible candidate or a cause you don't want to support.
That's where those hidden charges go towards.
Yeah. So you can get all data plans for $17.87 for your first month, and you can go to patriotmobile.com/news or call 1-800-A-PATRIOT. Digging back into Alex Jones, you're going to go meta?
Going to go meta
okay.
on this.
Okay. Go meta as quickly as you can, and then I want to get Elijah's take because I know there's going to be a little bit of a different perspective here.
Okay, so my biggest fear with what is happening to Alex Jones is a lot of this started with a vast, outcry, from the public. And then a few media organizations like Oliver Darcy. Actually, Oliver Darcy, I don't think was being entirely truthful there, because I think he did lead or was a part of a big campaign to deplatform Alex Jones. He was specifically hounding them like, hey, he's breaking these, rules. Why are you not doing anything about it? Why? It was all the time. He was tweeting directly at Jack Dorsey many times about this. So he was front and center out on this. But if you can have public outcry to go to some of these companies and say, get rid of this voice because he's mean to us or we don't agree or whatever, my feelings are hurt, whatever. And then if you can get a competitor, which Oliver Darcy represents a competitor to Alex Jones. Again, that's a very minuscule, he has a very small audience, probably compared to CNN. Well, actually, maybe not. Maybe they're about pretty equal by now. But if you can get a competitor and you can get a large outcry to basically pummel some of these companies, you should not be cheering for this right now. Because if you are a personality, a voice, regardless of what you talk about. But if you are one of these media outlets or just a voice, whether it's conservative or whatever your viewpoint is, and you can be pummeled into submission, you can be deplatformed by this. Whether it's, I don't agree with censorship, regardless whether it's from the government or whether it's from a private company. But this is the precedent. So you should not be happy about this if you're anti-Alex Jones, because you should be looking over your shoulder, because you could be the next one to get hit.
Okay. Elijah, you actually know Alex Jones. You've been on his show before. You guys are friends?
Yeah, I would say.
Okay.
I mean,
so what's your take on this?
I don't even know what constitutes friends anymore in this culture, but let's just say he had about 1 million followers on Twitter, and he followed a couple hundred, and I was one of them. We DM'd and we'd talk about things, and he happened to be a fan. He put my videos on Infowars.com and has put some of my content, retweeted my content, they email back and forth, different things. I personally think he's a great guy. I love him, and I think that a lot of people always preface their comments about him by going, well, I disagree with a lot of things that he says, but I also think he has the right to speak. And that almost sounds like someone saying like, hey, do you love your mom? Well, we've had some disagreements, but you don't say that. I mean, it's your mom, and she is your mom, and you don't preface your love by saying, oh, we disagree. You stand for what you stand for. And for me, I don't care. It doesn't even matter if I disagree with some of the things he said or if he's done some crazy things. The point is he's done nothing that violates the law in the fact that he's not doing anything illegal. Maybe questionable by some people's standards, but he's doing his best to be who he is. And I don't even know if I would consider him a true conservative. He's like a little bit fringe. He's a little bit fringe, been a little bit libertarian, been a little bit,
nationalist, right?
Yeah. He's definitely skeptical of the government as a whole. And I think what he did is good. Just like, you might have the Young Turks or other people online, which I definitely don't like. I think they're terrible.
But can I want to make sure that I understand you. You think what part of what he did was good?
I think having a voice that felt free to say what they wanted to say is important in any type of conversation, because it's like having that crazy clown in class or that bad kid who challenges the teacher. It's like, oh, well, they're disrupting the class. Yes, but it's important to have somebody there to challenge. And he was doing his best to challenge. Did he get some things wrong? Absolutely. But he got a lot of things right. And sometimes the things he got wrong, we tend to put on blast, kind of like when a celebrity has a scandal and suddenly we forget all the good things they've done. We just look at that one bad moment. I think Alex Jones is getting flack for a few dumb things that he said or done. And quite frankly, I think people are letting them stack on a ladder, because even his accosting apparently of a journalist, I mean, that's not illegal. It's not wrong. It might not be good taste, but it's not a terrible thing.
But it doesn't have to be something that he's done that's illegal to get him off of Twitter, right?
It doesn't have to be
a private company.
Yeah, they're a private company, but the way that they run as a public forum, saying that we can't get sued for the things on our platform because we don't police it. And so the way that people say, hey, there's a lot of people saying, white people should die, or kill all white people. And I don't expect Twitter to suspend those people too, because those people have the right to kind of say what they want. And if the police want to investigate and work with Twitter, that's fine. But it seems like the slant is against people who are conservative. And Alex Jones says a lot of crazy stuff that goes directly against the platforms that these social media companies hold, so.
The problem with these companies is Twitter and Facebook and all of them is that they're subjectively saying, who can and can't stay on our platforms without having any kind of consistency whatsoever.
Why?
There's no consistency. So literally there is a Louis Farrakhan Nation of Islam and there's a Hamas Twitter account. And they're all busy tweeting right at this moment. So that makes no sense. Yeah. You cannot suspend Alex Jones for saying frogs are going to turn gay from fluoride, but then let people say that Hamas is fine. It makes no sense.
I mean, I feel like it makes no sense. Correct. However, I still feel like they have the right to do it. They can do it, because when it comes down to it, life isn't fair. Not everyone is going to be treated equally. And, you can walk into a restaurant and they have a sign that says we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone, which they legally can do as long as they're not a protected class, that they're discriminating against.
And I don't register, though.
I don't think super crazy is a protected class.
They need to be registered, though. That's the key thing is what they're saying they are to society. It's dishonest advertising, because that's what's wrong about it, is that they're coming in here. I don't care. Be a liberal media outlet. Say we censor conservatives. We're for liberal media. It's like asking TheBlaze, hey, put out something that's pushing some sort of progressive agenda. You have the right here to do whatever you want. But they're not saying we are TheBlaze. They're not saying we are CNN. They're saying we're just these good guys who have a bulletin board and you post what you want. But if what you want isn't what we want, then we take it off, which is skewing and misleading the public, which means that they would need to re-register in some way, even in the tax code, for what they're actually doing, or be regulated, which I would say is sketchy in general. I don't want to push that. I don't want to push that, but I'm saying that if they wanted to move as a political influence or political group, they could do that too.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think that the simple solution here is always more voices, not less. There's no reason to go in there and slam. I ignore Alex Jones because I don't particularly agree with him and like his content, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me that he's on the. I don't care. And you need to be just more voices, not less.
All right, back in a minute.
Is it enough?
Only got about 30 seconds here, so really quick final word: was Twitter wrong for banning Alex Jones?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, Jason.
Agree.
Yes. Okay, Elijah.
in the legal right, but I believe it wasn't right for them to do it.
Morally wrong, but legally fine.
I think we'd all agree on that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We are
you're
going
to answer? You're just going to go to break, huh?
I mean, legally, I believe that they were right, that they have the right to do it.
And morally?
Stole my answer.
Morally.
A little hesitation here, officer.
I'm just going to leave it as a cliffhanger, and we'll see you in overtime.